Welcome back, everyone. I finally found some time to get back to the garage. We're gonna keep things rolling with the interior build on the Ram. Today, we're gonna be doing some more wiring. So I know that doesn't sound super exciting, but I guarantee at the end of this, it's gonna be very worth it and rewarding. At least for me, it is. So this isn't gonna be the headliner wiring. We already got that done. That's already all situated. But this is gonna be finalizing the wiring for the sound system that I already spent all the work, all the time, sound treating everything, making the subwoofer box, all that good stuff. And I still don't even know what it sounds like. So hopefully at the end of this, I will at least get to hear all the hard work and everything that was put into it. So again, that's gonna be very rewarding for me. It's very dirty under here, so please excuse all that. But what I wanted to do was mount a fuse holder somewhere in this area. And the project that I'm going to be tackling is the Big 3 or the Big 4. If you don't know what that is, it's just adding some grounding points in the engine bay just to help with the extra load that the amps are going to be drawing from the battery and the alternator. So it's just going to help current and everything flow a little more smoothly. At least that's how I understand it. So I am going to be routing some extra wire out throughout here. I need to figure out the links and how much wire I need. But I figured the best thing to do first would be to mount the fuse block, which I know I wanted to make some sort of bracket to hold it somewhere in this area. This is the fuse block that I'm going to be using from SMD. It's a very, very nice piece, but it also serves a function. But I do want to have it out on display just to make everything look nice and clean, just like I always try to do. So I'm going to be mounting it somewhere in this location. I need to figure out a way to secure it to the battery tray. I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do. I'm also going to be replacing this with the excess power battery. This is basically like I forgot what it's called, but the regular 3400. It's a very common battery. This is the A3400, so this is kind of like the old school vintage look. It's all black. I just thought it had a cleaner look to it, so that's what we're going to be going with. So I think we're going to have to get this battery out, put the new one in, just to mock it up, see how it's going to fit, figure out a way to get this bracket made, get the fuse block situated. Then once that's done, that'll be in place, so I can then figure out how much wire I'm going to need and what I have to do to get everything in place. So I kind of lucked out with this battery. It actually drops in perfectly in the battery tray. It is a little bit shorter than the other one, but the specs on this one are a lot higher, so this is definitely what we're gonna wanna go with. I'm just really happy that it fits. I was a little worried it was gonna be sticking out. Then I was gonna have to cut the battery tray, but we definitely don't have to do that. So now I can figure out exactly how I'm going to make this bracket as well as where I'm going to mount it. Okay, so for the most part, I pretty much have this bracket mocked up. It's not mounted in permanently, but I do have it in place. I already have it figured out how I'm going to secure it. We'll get to that on the final assembly, but I have these 0 gauge running from the inside of the cab. I finally cut those to length, more or less the size they're gonna need to be. For the battery, this is the style of terminal that I'm gonna go with, and I'm gonna have everything running to the appropriate locations. I already have a few pieces that are cut, so this will go something like this. Of course, I'm gonna tuck everything nicely as best I can, but I'm going to have to get the connections on here for the 0 gauge. I'm gonna have to get these stripped back. I'm gonna put some shielding on them. I have a ton more 0 gauge. I don't think I'm gonna need all this, hopefully not, but we're gonna run all the grounds, all the positives, everything, all this part. So what we have to do is just get all these wires cut to size, get them prepped, and get everything connected. It's been a few days since I picked up the camera. I have been working nonstop on this truck underneath the hood, trying to get all the wiring and everything situated. It was a lot more work than I thought. And honestly, I didn't feel like it was gonna be super interesting to film, and I really just wanted to get to work, try to figure this stuff out, because again, it was kind of a headache, but I got everything mostly situated, so I'm gonna turn this camera around so you can check it out, and I'll do my best to explain everything that I did. So this is pretty much what we're looking at as it sits right now. Nothing is in its final location. All of this wiring is going to be tucked into here. You're not gonna see this wire here. I was working here late last night and I just needed to get home, so I made a connection just enough to get the truck to turn on. As you can see, nothing is fused right now except for this one, which is the main power. I need to say first off that none of this stuff is really necessary if all you're trying to do is just add an amplifier. If you're trying to keep it simple, all you really need to do is run a power wire and connect it to your positive on your battery, and that's it. Of course, I like to make things difficult, and me being super into car audio, I wanted to have a setup honestly similar to this. You know, I wanted this little fuse panel thing here, and I wanted to get everything fused and look nice, and I had the idea of making the bracket, doing all that stuff, so I wanted everything ran very nicely. Even though my setup's going to be pretty modest compared to some crazy ones I've seen, I just wanted it to look really professional and just, you know, this is kind of the look that I was after. So because of that, I ran into a lot of troubles and a lot of headache. So just to kind of put it simply, the biggest thing is I had to extend the factory harness. It's too short, it's very tightly wound, and you're not able to maneuver or stretch it or do anything. So in order to get this battery to work, in order to get these terminals to work and everything, which they are on the same side, but I have it more toward the back, which I actually wanted, I had to extend the harness. And I used a bunch of 4-gauge wire, and I used the appropriate crimps, and I extended the entire harness, got everything loomed up, and everything is ran all the way here to the back. Underneath, I have this bus bar that has a positive side and a negative side, and they're ran to all these posts. And then on the top side, I have this fed to the positive on the battery, and then this one is fed to the negative. Everything is fused. Well, they're gonna be fused, and each amp will have its own fuse. The main power coming from the body harness is going to be fused. So if there's ever any issues on any of this stuff, the fuse should catch it, keep everything safe. That's about it. The main thing is I wanted good power flow. I wanted it to look nice with these nice thick cables. Again, I'm gonna have to tuck everything. I still have the other fuses that need to go in here, the glass panel that's gonna go on top. So I just need to tighten a few things up here. But before we do that, I'm gonna get this battery disconnected. I think we're gonna give this a break, and we're gonna get to the interior and get to some of the fun stuff. Look how tight of a fit this is. It's sitting right in between. Like, there's a small amount of wiggle room. Just enough space here to get everything plugged in. This does push down a little. These will go in right there. We can still bend it back a little, so good there. This one's real tight. But like I said, there's a little bit of room, just enough to plug it in. Crazy. But this is going to be mounted secure. I have the plates underneath here, so I just have to locate them and get these screwed in and start getting everything wired up. I just wanted to kind of point out real quick, I'm using these, they're called wire ferrules. It's pretty cool. You basically just put the wire in through this side, and once you put it into the amp, you crimp it down, and this actually self crimps and it wraps around the wire securely if you've ever tried to just stuff a wire in one of these amps, then you probably know what I'm talking about. No matter what you do, you're always going to have the little frays and everything, and plus all you're really doing is just damaging the wire. You're trying to squish it down, and it's a mess, and a lot of times it ends up coming loose. But with these, everything is nice and secure inside here. Can't get it to focus. So once you actually press down or you screw down, it crimps this with the wire all together, all intact. So it's just a much cleaner setup. You get a better connection, and you don't have to worry about the wires, you know, fraying all over the place. So if you do have to remove it, everything stays contained. You'll have a nice little kind of a dimple from the screw, and you're able to reuse them again. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so I have the amps wired up. They are not screwed in. They're just sitting here for now because I'm still gonna have to do some tuning, some adjusting. I wanna make sure that everything works. But man, look how tight this fit is. Barely able to get these to fit. There is some room though, so we're pretty good. But like I said, no use in screwing this down now because I need to access the settings on this side for the crossover. So have both of them wired up, ready to go. Gave this a quick little vacuum. We can finally get this sub box in here. It's been stored away and it's ready to come home. She's a little dusty, but she's in. I think I forgot, it's been a while, but I actually have to trim back these back pillar plastics just a little bit. It's sitting in there, but you can tell there's a little gap. It's supposed to sit all the way, and it's just barely hitting. I could probably force it in, but I really don't want to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave it for now. Get the seat back in. I need to get behind the radio so I can install the interface so that I can get signal for these amps on the factory 8.4 Uconnect. So that's what we're gonna do right now. So this is gonna be a little bit easier for me because it's already kind of taken apart. It's just sitting on here. But man, this thing's already broken, and good thing we're gonna be replacing this when I add the center console. So that's coming up soon, but for now, let's get this thing out of here. This is the interface that is going to make all of this possible, allowing us to connect some external amplifiers to our existing factory head unit. This is the AmpPRO from PAC. It's the AP4-CH41. It's supposed to be for Dodge Jeep vehicles, but this gives us the connections and everything we need to get signal to our amplifiers. Seems pretty simple. Looks like everything's done for you. So I'm going to try my best to get everything mocked up, as is everything else. I just want to see if this even works for this vehicle. There's a possibility that I might have to go on the app and make some adjustments. I hope not, because I would really like to hear this thing today. So I'm gonna get this installed right now, and hopefully everything goes pretty smooth. Okay, so I think I have this figured out. Took me a little bit of time to get everything situated and figure out what everything does and all the connections for my application, but let me kind of walk you through what I have. So on the back of the interface, you have this main harness that comes out, and this just routes along. You have this big chunk of wire here. This is going to plug into the main connector behind your radio. Once that's plugged in, this is the new connector that's going to go behind the radio. So that's simple enough. You also have this one connection here, and it has a sticker on it that says for factory amplified vehicles only. My vehicle is not factory amplified, so I'm leaving that unplugged. Then these are just the factory connectors that I have, so those are just off to the side. I then have this wire here, which is the control knob or the gain knob for the bass, but this is also going to be the knob that you need to adjust the volume on the chimes and the warning lights, or the warning chimes and all that good stuff. So I'm not worried about that just yet, but this will be controlling the bass amp, the gain, so that's good to have. You are going to want this plugged in. You don't want to just unplug it. If you get everything set up the way you want it, then you can unplug it if you want, but don't just toss this. You are going to need it because this is going to be the thing that controls all the different settings and all that good stuff, so make sure to hold on to this. After that, you can see here I have, this is the remote connection, so I have 2 remote wires for both the amplifiers. Then you have these dip switches here, 1 through 4. I only have number 4 on the down position, which is on. All the rest are off. So the first one is, number 1 is for, it's to go down to 2 channel, which I don't want, so that's staying there. Number 2 dip switch is going from 5 volt RCA output to a 4 volt. Some people might need that. I don't want that, so I'm leaving that up in the off position. Number 3 is not used, and number 4 is for factory non-amplified vehicles, so I have that switched to on. So once we're at this stage, the next thing is to try to get this programmed and get the CAN bus system to recognize that we now have an amplifier. So what this does is it tries to fool the system or the computer into thinking that we have a factory amplifier. And I'm not sure about all the details in that, but basically it's making the truck think that, oh, there's a factory amplifier in here. So it does what it needs to do, and ultimately everything should work the way it's supposed to. The instructions say that once this is installed, you're going to have to go through 2 sleep cycles to get everything to register and recognize that it's now a factory amplified vehicle. So the way that it says to do that is you put the key in the ignition, put it in the on position, then you turn it off. You're going to roll up all the windows, lock the doors, close everything, lock the key fob, and walk away. Give it about 5 minutes, it says, and then you come back and you repeat it again. Now, I tried that, and that did not work for me. I tried it 5 minutes, I tried it 10 minutes, and it would not work. The way that you know it wasn't working is everything turns on. Even I think the amps were turning on. Yeah, the amps were turning on. The light turns on for this, but it says that you know you have it connected or programmed when there's a red LED on top, and it says that once you hit the volume on your steering wheel or on one of the controls, you'll see that little light start to flicker along with the volume, and that was not happening. So I went, like I said, over and over, trying 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and finally what I did was I reset the battery. I disconnected it for a few minutes, put it back on, and I let it sit for about an hour. Then I came back and everything was working. So ultimately it did go through a long sleep cycle. I think that the instructions are correct, but for me it took a little more, it took a little bit longer to register. But if it doesn't work for you with the 5 minutes, maybe try 10 minutes just to be safe. If that doesn't work, maybe do what I did, disconnect the battery, put it back, give it about an hour, walk away, come back, and hopefully by then everything should be working. In the past, the speakers I had in here sounded pretty bad. I think I had one or two blown speakers as well. I might even have a clip of how it used to sound. So if I do, I'll find a spot somewhere in here to put the old footage in here so you can kind of compare. I do want to give you guys a listen to how everything sounds now, but I already know this microphone is not going to pick up the quality of everything, especially the low frequencies from the subs, but I'm going to do my best, kind of give you a little before and after. I could tell you right now, without any tuning or anything, this thing sounds incredible. It sounds really, really good, so I'll do my best. Hopefully it can translate a little bit. Just keep in mind too that that noise you hear from the subs is not distortion. It's just the microphone struggling and clipping to produce those low frequencies. So I'm going to start off first with just the door speakers, and then I'll start to kind of turn up the gain a little bit so you can hear the subs kick in. I am very, very happy with how everything came together, the way this thing sounds. I know, again, that it is not going to translate to you guys. It probably sounds pretty bad on your end. There's no way this camera, this microphone is going to pick up all of the frequencies in this cab, especially the low frequencies. But man, those subs are doing their job. The box sounds great. I spent so much time on that, and to finally hear it, it's so rewarding. Night and day difference for me. This is gonna make driving so much more enjoyable. So I'm very happy. The subs aren't even broken in yet. As a matter of fact, the system isn't even tuned yet. I kind of just did everything by ear, but I do want to get more precise with that. I have the SMD DD1 Plus and the CC1, and what those do is it will allow me to set the gains and adjust the crossovers in a very precise way. No guesswork, so that nothing is clipping and everything is crossed over just the way it's supposed to. So I'm probably going to do that off camera. Unless you guys want to see that, let me know. I'll make a video on that too if y'all want to see it. I can finally get the wiring kind of cleaned up just a little bit, clean up the amps, the wiring, and get everything ready for what's to come, which is the center console and the seats. So, and there's a few trim pieces as well. We're right there. We're almost there. We can finally check off the interior real soon. And I'm anxious to do that because there are some other things that I want to introduce and bring to the channel. So we can finally do that very soon. I just really wanted to wrap this up first because I know a lot of guys have been following along and I've been on this interior for a little while. So it's time to move on, but not just yet. We have, like I said, maybe 2 or 3 more videos on the interior and then we can get there. If y'all have any questions at all, please feel free to leave them down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you guys on the next video.